Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers.
We're your hosts, Mary Ann
and Qing-en.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences.
Let's hit the road.
And get started.
Hello and welcome back everyone to Formosa Dream Chasers. In our last episode, we mentioned that the Taiwan International Human Rights Film Festival 2024 kicked off last month, and this is being organized annually by the National Human Rights Museum under the Cultural Ministry.
This year's theme features two main sections, one focused on gender equality and the other, titled Human Rights Lens, examines themes of hatred and forgiveness. This year's Human Rights Lens program showcases films that reveal the harsh realities of state violence and the suffering individuals face during war and conflict. A notable selection from this section is the documentary I Shall Not Hate, directed by Tal Barda.
Last episode, we chatted with director Tal Barda about the situation happening in Israel to get a better understanding of both the conflict and the human rights situation in Gaza.
Today, we continue our conversation as to why she chose to start a career in filmmaking and what other challenges filmmakers face when making documentaries, and also her advice for this based on her experience. Because our show is about people pursuing their dreams, so maybe we should shift the topic to your personal journey. What inspired you to start making film, and why do you think this is a good tool to change people's mind? Can you share with us why you came to this filmmaking career?
So I think that for me, I studied film and television at the university, but I always knew that I'm not interested in fiction. I'm more interested in documentaries and people's stories, and I felt always a strong call. I was always very curious, even as a child. I would stop in the park. My parents would be walking, but I would stop and stare at people and listen to their conversations. And it would be very interesting to me to hear people's stories. So that was the way I started working. And I kind of feel that I look sometimes, and I always like to go a little bit to dangerous zones, I would say. Or I finished a series in Israel that is about the biggest criminal family in Israel. And I was for months and months talking to the biggest criminal in Israel. He was in prison and he would be for 100 more years, but on the phone, constant conversations. And on the other side, the prosecutor that brought him to trial. And I always feel that these are topics that I have some kind of call to go into these areas and kind of look at the limit, get to the limit of it's for me interesting, but also I feel very curious to understand who's this person behind, the big name. And also I feel that for me, it's all what goes on in this world at the end depends on personal and individuals. There's huge things going on, and we could talk about global warming, and we could talk about, the big wars that are taking place and everything. But at the end, I feel that it's the individuals who really have the ability to change. And it would be the prosecutor that I was following, and he was just a government prosecutor earning a very, very basic salary, but he devoted his life to put this criminal into jail. And it's much bigger sometimes than that, but at the end I feel it's the actions of the private people. And also here, let's say in this film with the doctor, I felt that at the end it's one person's dream and drive in his life that creates a much bigger influence than himself. It's something that is much bigger. So for me, I'm always searching for stories that it starts by a small window into a very different environment than me, but I find myself very fascinated by this world, and I try and find the way that it can connect to bring a bigger message. So that's how I work on my filmmaking.
Would it be correct then to say that your dream or your purpose is to put a spotlight on people's stories, to also show other people that it is through, like you say, the individual and their actions? You can also inspire others through that storytelling that you do. Is that?
Yeah. That's very correct. I also feel that it's a journey between what we think we know about someone and we think we have an idea about something. But through the film, I always like to bring different angles to look at a person or to look at a story. So let's say now I'm finishing a 4-part series about the biggest jail in Israel, that 70% are Arabs that are in there. And it starts by just seeing like 1,000 prisoners in this huge place, which is very big for Israel as a prisoner, 1,400. But then it goes into actually show the lives of the people that decided to work in that prison, in education, in social work, but also like the guards and everything, and kind of look at the life that they chose to live behind the bars. And so it always is changing like what you think about these people and what you come out of it, because it's at the end, there's all human beings are very interesting and complex, and it's sometimes we see it as, one dimensional, but it's much beyond that.
And if I may continue with our discussion on your filmmaking career, what would you say is the biggest challenge you face in making films?
First of all, it's a very long relationship with characters. It's a long-term, also gaining access to personal lives and also remaining in a good relationship throughout the filmmaking, and also understanding that many things that you had as a filmmaker in your mind are changing because reality and life is stronger than that. So yeah, I feel there's a lot. And this is just besides the creative process of like, okay, there's this story, so many hours of filmmaking. How do we write the script of what's going on and editing? And there's a lot to do. But behind that, because we're dealing with people and their real life, so in a very delicate way, kind of, it's like a delicate dance with the people you're filming and with the story that unfolds and might change. So needing to have a lot of patience and flexibility in the filmmaking also.
So what advice would you share with our listeners who want to also get involved in filmmaking industry, and do you have any advice for them?
I would say that looking at a project or at a documentary as a very long-term project and understanding and not getting too dramatic about the things that take place. I would say that understanding what is the core of our project or the message of our film is very, very important, because then the small details aren't so important. So I would say that if at the end, like I remember I did this film about a musical family that all the people from age 8 months to 80 were doomed to be musicians. Now I say doomed because sometimes it's nice, but if you don't want to be a musician and you have to, it's very difficult. So I followed this family on stage. It looks so beautiful and colorful, but I went behind the scenes to kind of understand what does it mean to actually be born to a family that decides what you're going to do in life. And I remember that we filmed some difficult scenes with the grandfather who was like a dictator and deciding so much. And we were really scared to show the family the film before premiering it at Hot Docs, which is Hot Docs International Documentary Film Festival in Toronto. And I remember that we did screen it, and it wasn't easy to show the family the film. But at the end, one of them said, listen, it wasn't easy, but that's who we are. And I felt that, okay, I want to take that with me, because I feel that at the end, people, it's difficult for them to see themselves in complex situations, especially because if not, you won't have a film about you. If you're just like a boring, straightforward person, so nobody would want to actually make a film about you. So obviously, there's, the downs and upsides of being in a film. But I feel that if at the end, the core is that we're really demonstrating the story without manipulating it too much, I would say, because editing is a huge manipulation, so we can't not manipulate. But I would say that if at the end the message is true to what you think and to what the character feels, so then I did my job.
Going back to the film I Shall Not Hate, which was recently shown here in Taiwan, I'm curious about Taiwanese audience reception and feedback of the documentary. Can you share with us and maybe compare it to other audience in different countries, like or in Israel? First
of all, yesterday we had a screening, and And then we got like really, really nice messages from someone. But I would just say that through the messages, I understand that there isn't really a big difference, I would say, because there is something that people go back with. And, when you're touched by a topic or something really moves you and you go through tragic moments, but you leave with hope. So it's something that would be more like universal in a way. And so that's I was just thinking that, somebody sent it to me and he said, he wrote, "I want to show my gratitude to you. Thank you for your dream and your courage to make this documentary." This is a Taiwanese that saw the film yesterday in Kaohsiung. And he said, "The film means a lot to me. I pay attention to what is going on in the media, and it's very devastating to watch the news. However, you brought the hope, the love, the courage, the wisdom, the humanity to us. I hope there will be more people to watch this documentary." And I feel that I've been to different countries, and I would say that, let's say, in the US or some places, I feel that people have no knowledge of what is going on. No, it's really, sometimes I think like the Americans, they really focus on what's going on, but if you start asking the questions about foreign affairs, like they really don't know.
Yeah.
Some people were asking me questions like they didn't know anything, and I think it's different here. And I also read some the different press interviews we're doing, and the questions are, I sent my family and I was like, look how smart they are. Like their questions are really complex. They're really trying to go into the topic and understand, rather than asking very, very black or white questions, assuming very wrong things about what is going on. So I do feel here that that the questions people are asking come from a very like profound desire to understand, and also curiosity of what is going on.
So the documentary can be screened in Israel?
Yeah, it can. I don't feel that it's the time yet. I don't feel that. I feel that my motivation was to change the way people think about others, and to be able, like I said, see beyond what Israel is going through in terms of also rockets and attacks. But I feel that living there now, people aren't able yet to look at someone else's suffering with like an open heart and actually be able to cope with it. And then my idea would be that I want people to be touched by this film and inspired by this protagonist. But if somebody can't go beyond their own grief, so I think I need to wait a little bit more.
I understand. I do hope that your message, I mean, you are doing a number of film festivals right now showing your film, I Shall Not Hate. And I am positive that there will be a lot of people that will see that message that you're trying to spread. Yeah. I think because of the time limit, we don't have too much time, and I know you have other scheduled activities. Before we wrap up, do you have any like message or parting words, or a couple of like final words you wish to say or share to our audience?
Yeah, I think I would say that looking at what is going on now, and I feel that no political situation justifies killing of civilians, no matter what takes place. And I do feel that that no matter how many more people are killed in conflict, if there isn't like equal rights for everyone, so the suffering and being insecure would continue to happen in this very tiny, tortured land that I live in, and that Israelis and Palestinians need to deal with. And I feel that seeking peace is a difficult task, rather than saying it's either us or you. But I feel that thinking that one side would vanish is a fantasy of the extreme leaderships. And it's a fantasy, because at the end of the day, Israelis and Palestinians will continue to live near each other. And at the end, their futures are connected. So one day, and I hope it's really, really fast, everybody would need to kind of stop the war and stop the bullets and choose conversations over army and military. And, be able to look at each other and stop what is going on. But the forces are much stronger, and we see that all around the world. So from my own small, private, and personal perspective, I really hope that the people can really change what is going on now.
Thank you, Director Barda, for coming here to talk with us.
Thank you very much.
So once again, the film I Shall Not Hate by director Tal Barda, which features Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish and his mission for tolerance and forgiveness, is one of the featured films at the Taiwan International Human Rights Film Festival 2024. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You very
you.
much.
The film I Shall Not Hate has won a number of awards, including the Audience Award at the Hague Movies That Matter Festival, the Best Film in the Bridges of Understanding Festival category, and the Best Cinematography at the Doc Edge Festival.
It also won Bronze Wealth of Majesty from the Castellarico International Film Festival in Greece. This is also the first time that this film is being shown in Asia. Here's a preview of the film I Shall Not Hate.
As a Palestinian refugee who was born, raised and lived in Jabalia refugee camp, I feel about my childhood, a child without a childhood. Abject poverty, deprivation, and I realized the only way to get out of it is education. So I dreamed I want to go to Harvard and be the first Palestinian to work in Israeli hospital.
To go to work in Israel in an OBGYN hospital, a man who delivers Israeli babies.
It's one of the better-known tragedies of the attack, in part because it unfolded live on Israeli television.
אם הרופא שמטפל בחולים ישראלים ככה עושים, באמת זה מה שעושים, זה השלום.
Dr. Abulaish's home was shelled twice by Israeli tanks. His 3 daughters were killed.
And you could still see some body parts shredded on the walls.
I don't want anyone to imagine what did I see.
There was a huge amount of political drama around this act that killed Dr. Abuelaish's 3 daughters.
Within the borders of the hospital, all are equal. Why not to be outside equal?
He's just trying to get an apology. He's not asking for anything else.
He thought that Israel would be happy to acknowledge and apologize. There was nothing farther from the truth.
My daughters, they are not dead. They are only far away from me. And I say to them on a daily basis, I didn't give up. I will do my best to transform this tragedy into a positive act for them and for others, and not to forget them.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember to join us next week as we will sit down and chat with the main character of this film, Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish. Dr. Izzeldin is a 5-time Nobel Peace Prize nominee, a Palestinian human rights activist, and a physician.
Dr. Izzeldin wrote his memoir in 2011 entitled I Shall Not Hate, a Gaza Doctor's Journey on the Road to Peace and Human Dignity, which has been translated to 23 languages and is currently being translated to Chinese. We'll learn more about his story directly in next week's episode. So see you next week. This is Ching and Cho.
And Mary Ann Shoko.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Did you enjoy our program? Do you have any questions or feedback on what you just heard? Email us at rti@rti.org.tw. That's rti@rti.org.tw. and we will respond to all of your comments. We look forward to hearing from you.